Alright, so I took the tiniest of breaks from Japanese media, and instead of watching something from Japan, I watched the Steven Universe movie. Now, I already know that this might be outside of what this channel's scope is, but as I watched this movie, it started to feel a little bit familiar. Don't get your pitchforks out yet, just follow along and I think we'll all understand perfectly. I'm probably going to be the last person on the universe to point out anime references in Steven Universe. I think everyone has caught on by now. It's not a big secret. But as I was watching this movie, I kept getting reminded of dozens upon dozens of other movies that I saw, and all of them in the same vein of being a shonen movie. Now, I know shonen movie is not a real term, but I think you can already guess at what I mean. Shonen movies are connected to much larger, usually ongoing plots, and this puts them in a weird spot where they have to up the stakes because it's a movie, but you can't do anything too big or interesting because it would step on the toes of the TV series. Having this big wrap-up right before this movie kind of puts it in the worst possible place, because every character has reached their natural conclusion, gotten their new character development outfit, and that's where this sneaky shonen movie formula comes in. The protagonist of a shonen movie can't really develop because all of their development happens in the TV series. Because of this, we have a few common recurring plots in shonen movies to get around the fact that all of the main characters that people care about can't actually do anything too interesting. Now, there's a lot of recurring plot elements across shonen movies, but for simplicity's sake, I'm going to focus on two recurring plots in shonen movies. The first being a new set of characters are introduced. These characters get what would be the main character's development if this was a normal movie. Now, a new antagonist is absolutely necessary. In fact, you'll be hard-pressed to find a shonen movie that doesn't introduce a completely new and overpowered antagonist. This guy usually comes in, kicks the hero's asses in the opening act, and then cue standard training or hijinks until they meet again in the third act. Then the hero is going to pull something out of his ass and beat the bad guy with it. Standard movie tropes. But sometimes there isn't just a new antagonist, there's also a new protagonist, which usually end up being either a sidekick or somebody for the main character to save. Point being is that they're introduced and they play a pivotal role in the plot's resolution, because then there wouldn't be a point in having them in this movie if they didn't, I guess. Both these characters reach their natural character arcs by the end of the movie, antagonists are defeated, protagonists usually are rescued or aided by the main character in some way. And the important part about this is that the new sidekick character can't actually show up in any of the main story. So they're usually hand-waved away, with some explanation that, well, the protagonists were just visiting this place and now it's time to leave and they'll see each other again, maybe in some filler arc later, but probably nothing that anybody would actually care about. However, there's another very, very common recurring plot to these shonen movies, and that involves a character losing their memory, because this is a great way to introduce conflict. You're basically trying to get that character back to the point of character development that they were at in the TV series, and it's genius. This way you can have a major character that people actually care about go through an entire character arc that really they already went through in the TV series. And it essentially won't affect them in the long run in any way, because they had amnesia for a movie. Who cares? These are not hard set rules. It's just a byproduct of being attached to a larger franchise. And while I sat down and watched the Steven Universe movie, I realized that it had everything that a shonen movie does. In fact, it combines both of these very common shonen movie plots into one. What's her name? I wrote it down, but I gotta actually look up the Peacock from Spinel. Oh, these are the things from Resident Evil 4. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I wanted to say Spindel. Spindel something else? Well, spindle is a word that people use, but I think I just mentally inserted a D into this thing. Don't overanalyze that. Spinel is introduced as a brand new antagonist that kicks Steven's ass in the first act. Now here's the tricky part, because we're not just doing the plot to Dragon Ball Z Revenge of Cooler. Oh no. We're also doing Detective Conan Movie 4, Captured in Her Eyes. The movie where, Rachel? Oh god. Oh no, I don't actually know her Japanese name. The movie where Conan's love interest, who has varying names depending on the country that you're watching it in, she gets amnesia in this one, and the movie is all about getting her back to herself, and so that she can solve a case or whatever. It's good. I liked it. It's fun. A lot of those early Detective Conan movies, still good. Revenge of Cooler, good for what it is. I think just by saying it's a Dragon Ball Z movie, I don't need to briefly synopsis that. Because of what Spinel does, if you haven't seen the movie, she has a giant scythe, and it essentially just resets everyone's character. In fact, at one point, Peridot even screams that she's going to lose her character development, and I thought that was very funny. A little on the nose, but very funny. Alright, so as I was editing this video, I completely forgot that the villains of the Bleach movie that I was showing earlier actually have a scythe that erases memories. Literally the same thing that Spinel's scythe does here in this movie. I'm gonna chalk this up to coincidence. I honestly don't think it's a Bleach reference. This is probably just two different countries working to the same point. I just thought it was kind of funny. So after the crystal gems lose their memory, the movie relaxes its pace as Steven tries to literally jog their memories through what is essentially just a loose connection of towny episode plots. I don't know if you guys are too familiar with the Steven Universe lingo. Towny episodes are generally the episodes that people didn't like all that much. So we got this regain their memories and regain their character development plot. But here's another curveball. Because remember that annoying sidekick character that would show up in some shonen movies? Bam! There she is, this whole movie. She's not only the main antagonist, but also the annoying sidekick character. I kind of like it how it's done here better, because you actually care about her by the time that she gets her memory back, and by then she's back to being an antagonist, and the fight between her and Steven have much more of an impact. Forget that though. Forget that. We're done with that. Of course, this leads to the final battle where Steven pulls something out of his ass in the third act and saves the day. And then Spinel goes off with the diamonds to safely brush her out of the way of any future plot elements that might happen on Earth. Unlike other shonen characters that you really don't expect these movie-only characters to ever show up again, I'm kind of expecting Spinel to maybe show up, depending on what they do. I wouldn't be against it. But they're essentially doing that same thing. They have a heartfelt goodbye to this new character that was introduced in this new movie, and a pretty good reason for her not really to affect the plot majorly after this, because, you know, she's a character that is apparently capable of taking out all the crystal gems and nearly destroying the world, so having her around is just gonna kind of make things difficult to write. It's for the writers. You gotta think of the writers. So really, once you've seen a shonen movie, you've kind of seen them all. Steven Universe follows this formula, but it does it well. Look, anime movies can go one of two ways. They can be a culmination of storylines and character arcs that are remembered forever, or they can have absolutely no bearing on the larger plot and be forgotten about in a week. But I don't think I'm gonna forget about Steven Universe, the movie, in a week. I think it brings together all these elements very well, and if you're a fan of the TV show, you're not really going to be disappointed. I didn't really expect or want Steven Universe the movie, Jasper's counterattack. Oh wait, actually that sounds really cool. No, what I mean was that the Steven Universe movie does what it needed to do, and it didn't need to be a big giant thing. This movie was more of a victory lap for people that enjoyed the TV series, and that's all I wanted. It helps that there's also some great animation too. I actually think sticking to this formula was the best thing that they could have done in this situation, given where the series had left off. And who knows, if they do a sequel movie at some point, then we can finally have our Jasper's counterattack. End of Steven Universe. Greg Universe invoked. This video was a lot more ranty and rambly than my usual videos. I went way more off script than I usually do in most videos, and I didn't research anything. In fact, it's going to be hell putting together all the images that I'm going to be using for this. But if you like this video, check out the rest of my channel, subscribe. I have a feeling this video is either going to go one or two ways. People are going to get the joke, or they're going to hate me. Subscribe because I got a bunch of stuff planned for Halloween, and I don't want it to go to waste.